All right, guys, welcome to the Chris Bell Show. Today I have a really interesting topic to talk about, but I just want to make sure before I talk about it to let you guys know that I'm not encouraging anybody do this or recommending anybody do this. Today I'm talking about psilocybin mushrooms and a very special psilocybin giant mushroom that I took called the Super Mario 64 mushroom. And it was a wild ride. Again, I'm not recommending this to anybody. I'm not telling you to do this. This is just my experience. Enjoy. I'm going to have to Tim Dillon this one. I think my eyes might be shot from this.
Really? He's doing great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tim Dillon Show.
Did you see him on Two Bears?
He's amazing, dude. I love him.
I love him, too.
I love what Tom observed about him. You're like, okay, this shows you how good Tom Segura is. He's like, the thing is that about you is you've never apologized. You never came back with the, I'm just kidding. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. It's exactly what it is. He says things like as if they're real, and he never goes back and says, I'm just kidding. He just says it as if it's real.
I would hire Dylan Mulvaney to promote the film in the most grotesque way.
To be, hitting herself in the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
But like she's just there with the can and she's going, I love beer. I would have her beating her dick with a hammer.
In the commercial. Yeah. And then like, why? Because it would be so controversial. It's not even going to be in the movie, he's saying, but it's going to be in my trailer just to get people to show up.
Yeah. Just to get attention. Yeah. Just to get any attention, you need to kind of do something like that. Controversial.
I mean, that's what we look for. We don't look for substance. We look for like, oh, that's going to be cool.
Fighting out of Sacramento, California.
Woo! What you gonna do?
Better. Stronger.
Son of a bitch.
Faster.
Oh, yeah!
So, Russell, I have something to report to you. I have tried a psychedelic mushroom that brought me to a different level altogether. So it's called the Super Mario mushroom. Super Mario 64, I guess, because that's probably one of the better Super Mario games. And a guy at our gym, he grows all these different mushrooms, and he's like, hey, you got to try these. These are like a different strain, and they're going to bring you to a different world. Well, I just thought like, okay, I've done mushrooms. I've probably done mushrooms 50 times, and done like, I'm talking about like, I've probably done mushrooms over 5 grams at least 20 times. So I've done these bigger trips a lot. So this mushroom right here was 6 grams. They're giant. They're actually like 14 grams if you eat. Like the whole thing, if it came the whole thing, it's like 14 grams about per mushroom. And so that's cut up in like 3 pieces. Yeah, these mushrooms are just wild. So normally when you take psilocybin mushrooms, you'll take them and you'll sort of feel it like creeping in. You'll feel like, okay, now I'm feeling it, and I'm starting to feel, you get this, I get this weird like impending doom feeling at first, and then it feels good. Mushrooms have always been weird with me. These mushrooms, I was just on my computer, because I took them, and you got to wait like an hour to kick in. So I took them, I'm on my computer, I'm looking stuff up, and all of a sudden my computer goes into like this 3D mode, where like now I can click things and go in and look at it deeper. And I'm like, wait a second. Is this real? And so I'm clicking on all these websites, and all the websites are doing it. But none of the websites were doing it because I cannot figure it out today. I was like, I just discovered the coolest thing on the internet, and there would be like, you'd be on like a picture and you'd see like a sparkle in the picture. Maybe this does exist, and I did see it, but and you'd click on it, and then you'd go into it, and then you'd see all this other stuff, and it would bring you to all this other content. So it was just really a wild, weird experience. It was so weird I had to get off my computer because I didn't know what was going on, and I couldn't turn off that mode. Like when I had it, I didn't want it, and when I didn't have it, now I wanted it again. Here's the deal. Okay. Yesterday in the morning, my friend texted me, hey, I'm going to come down to the gym and see you. Okay. And he's like, I'm going to bring you something. Okay, cool. The night before, Mark texts me, and he's going to Iceland, and says, "Can I borrow your Nintendo Switch?" Now, I told a story where Mad Dog beat The Legend of Zelda, the original game, back in the 80s. He beat the original game when I got all the way to the end guy and played the whole game for months, and then he finally went and killed the end guy when I wasn't even around. That was a horrible experience. So now I just got the new Legend of Zelda game, and I'm 50 years old, and it's the most amazing game I've ever played, and I played through about 90% of it. Like, I got through a lot of it. I only got a couple more things to do, and my brother asked to borrow my Switch to go to Iceland. So when I take these mushrooms, I think that this is a test set up from Brandon and Mark to get me to surrender my Switch. I honestly thought that somebody was going to pick me up outside, and I was going to Iceland with them. I swear to God, dude. I swear to God. Like, I was like, there's no way this is happening. This is not happening. And it was the weirdest, crazy experience. And then it just grew from there. And where it grew was here. On the way home in the car, I was listening to Jeremy Corbell, who is a UFO documentary filmmaker. And for whatever reason, I have been getting fed up. I like Jeremy Corbell a lot. He's awesome. But I get fed up, and I'm like, this guy's just a fiction filmmaker. This is all BS. This is terrible. And I was all mad about it. Then I go inside, and I'm listening to a podcast, and they're talking about this UFO, the stuff that was on Breaking Points that we talked about. I'm like, that's totally fake. But then all of a sudden, things started to reveal themselves to where I honestly felt that my whole life I've been searching for these answers for one reason, and that reason is that we are in a simulation, and it's something that I've never, ever believed in. I thought was completely ridiculous. And as these things revealed themselves to me, I'm like, oh my God, every single thing in my life is connected back to finding these like specific answers. And why? Why? And then I got this thought that, like, wait a second, you're the guy that's supposed to relay this to the world, but you can't let too many people know. And only a certain amount of people know. So I feel like Brandon, the guy that gave me the mushrooms, he was drawn to this gym to give me those mushrooms. But he also secretly gave them to Mark, but Mark just never told me because that's more his nature. Like, I feel like Mark's done this too. I feel like he's in on it. I feel like you may be in on it too. I don't know how yet, but things just slowly would reveal themselves as like every little thing that I was doing in my life had this set purpose, and that purpose was just a charade of a life. It's all fake. Like, none of it mattered. And then I started, so here's the even crazier part. I thought that I was supposed to give up my Nintendo Switch as a sign to surrender. Just surrender, give it up. Because, you play the game for I had it for a month. I got addicted to it. So I'm sitting there playing. And I thought it was a sign from Mark to say, let go of these things. Let go of them. Flush them out. Give it to me for a week. See what happens. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to be fine. And the way that these things just kept revealing themselves one at a time was crazy. So then it's like, okay, I do know how you fit into it, by the way. I do know how you fit in.
I want to hear this.
This is amazing. Okay. So I'm on my computer, and then it's saying, get off of your computer, stop wasting your time, and go sit in a chair, put on the blindfold, and relax. So I go in the chair, do what Andrew Huberman says, put on the blindfold, tilt it all the way back to relax, and all of a sudden I see the most vivid images I've ever seen of just like beyond HD, sort of like when I did DMT, beyond HD images of just stuff. It's hard to say. I was in like a circus environment, like all these bright colors. It's really hard to really explain. But then I started like falling, and I started falling, and then I started falling to this light. And then I open my eyes, and I look in my bedroom, and there's a big light coming in from the outside. So I like go in my bedroom, and I lay down on the bed. And as I lay down on the bed, I feel like I'm sinking, and I'm floating backwards down, like I'm going down, 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 and I'm seeing the light as I'm going up. And I'm like, you got to get to the light or you're going to die. This is death. And what I actually thought, this is so crazy. I don't even know how to explain it. I thought that this was my death, and that death is a big game of this is your life. And when you die, in the past, in the seconds that you die, as it's like counting down, you relive your whole life like Scrooge, and you see all the things that you did wrong, and you see all the mistakes you made, and you're trying to correct them, but you can't because you keep slipping. You keep slipping. Every time you go to correct a mistake, oh, I did this with this girl, or I did this with this, this situation, or I should have made this movie, or whatever it is, right? You're like regretting, and you're slipping, and you're slipping and slipping, and you can't grasp onto anything. And as I'm going down the tubes, I'm thinking, what about Rogan? Rogan, he keeps talking about, like, these are end of times days. We're talking about all the trans issues. This is end of times, right? All the stuff with, we have an archaeologist here, Sarah, and I ask her about like the origins of the universe and how people came about to be. And the reason why is I'm supposed to be like this person that sees the cracks in the matrix, that can report it to others. And the only reason I'm here today is just to make sure that I don't give up the secret too soon. Like, they want to keep the charade going a little bit longer, but they're showing me cracks. That's all in an 8-hour mushroom trip that was so realistic and so bizarre and better than any movie that I've ever seen, and just inexplainable. On obviously, like, I hope people don't think I think these things actually happened, but they were so vivid, it's hard to not. I couldn't believe how fast the human brain could connect every dot, and I'm going to tell you why. What did you talk to me about yesterday about stretching?
How as you breathe, you go deeper?
And you wanted to go to the floor.
I wanted to.
And you got on the floor while I was talking to you.
Yes.
You're like, I'm getting on the floor right now. You inspired me.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
So, okay. So as I'm sitting back in the chair and seeing, this is actually towards the beginning of the trip, I'm seeing all these images, and I lean back in the chair. I see my mom.
Oh, wow.
And my mom's like, come down, come here, go, get on the floor. And I got on the floor, and I was just crying like a baby. And I don't know why. I just was on the floor, and I had surrendered completely to whatever it was that was bothering me. The other thing was, this was like Avatar. I had no pain in my entire body. And I think like what pain was is just a test to see how tough I am, to see how, if I'm supposed to deliver this story, I better be a tough son of a bitch. I better be resilient. I better be able to, keep working in the face of adversity. And like all these things started to like reveal themselves. And I don't even, to be honest, like I don't even know what to say about it. It's that crazy.
How long did this last? You said 8 hours? Did you say for 8 hours? It was
about, let's see. So I started, so here's two other things that are quick. I don't think I mentioned these. Yesterday in the gym, Mark came to the gym, and Andy showed up, and Quinn and Jake. So Mark and his whole family were here. I felt like this was my death, and the reason why, like, that's really rare that my brother and his family are like all here at the same time. That was my goodbye. That was the last time I'll see them. That's what I thought. That's how crazy this was. Like, that's how fearful I was. But you know what? In the face of that fear of dying, I was strong. I just kept letting go. Just let go of it. Don't worry about it. You'll see him again. This isn't the end. This is just the end of this cycle, And it was, man, it was so vivid and so bizarre, and just something that, like, I feel, my God, we need to study these things. Like, what is going? I mean, the brain power that you can harness on a mushroom that's rotten is absolutely mind-boggling.
It breaks my mind. I don't understand how we can ignore the commonalities that everybody has experienced on here, and just these themes that just keep arriving.
It's all the same themes.
It's
the UFOs, the transgenders, it's all these things that have us wondering about who we really are and what our identity is, and racism and all. Like, what are we? Who are we? Like, it's so crazy that all the themes just keep like compiling together, and you can sort of see, I don't know. It helped me like make sense of a lot of things, but also like really shook up a lot of things that I think. And then after it, I'm like, could we actually be in a simulation? So then right after it, I'm on watching the podcast with like Elon and Joe Rogan talking about like what the probability is that we could be in a simulation. And then that just blew my mind. And I'm like, okay, I need to like go to sleep or something. I couldn't sleep. Like I was up all night because I couldn't stop thinking about weird stuff.
I wonder if the simulation is like some sort of like mass premonition.
It could be.
It could be a premonition of where we're heading. Because I don't know if you saw that reel I sent you. Ever since the 50s and television started being predominant in households, how much as a society we've changed, how much like it shows year after year, like like a 0.1% less time with social interactions and all these statistics that are moving. And then speaking of Tim Dillon this morning, I'm listening to him on Two Bears in One Cave, right? And he's talking about being the son of boomers and how
that's his book, right? How boomers ruined the world, but ruined a kid first, or something. Isn't that the name of his book?
Yes, and I don't think it's the fact that they were boomers. I don't think that's unique to their generation, because I was raised by the parents of boomers, right? But I had the exact same experience. I don't know exact, but
has boomer just become a generic term, like where it doesn't actually mean baby boomers anymore? Because I heard Hassan Piker calling Joe Rogan a boomer, but Joe Rogan's not in that boomer population.
I mean, that's the joke.
He's like, he's such a boomer.
That's like, the joke calling Gen X boomers, but I was raised by the greatest generation, right? The World War, the people that survived the Depression and then went into World War II, right? But as parents, they acted just like boomers. And I think it's because they were all of a sudden, everyone's got a TV. All of a sudden, everyone's got air conditioning. All of a sudden, everyone's getting nightly news by the masses. All of a sudden, everyone's watching, these soap operas at night. And I think it doesn't really depend on what age you were when you're parenting at that time of history. You were just so drunk by the new conveniences of this technological society, this digital society. It was analogical.
It's interesting, yeah.
I think that because when that picture, that cover of the drinking and the smoking and the watching TV while the kids in the back just doing whatever the kid's doing, that was my house.
Yeah.
And I fight like hell to not let my kids experience that same thing. And it's so hard because every morning I know on Mondays I've got Two Bears in One Cave waiting for me when I wake up. But that's not the most important thing in my life. My kids are the most important thing in my life.
That wasn't our growing up. Our growing up was like mom was very involved every day. Get up, time to go to school, blah, blah, blah. Dad was always at work a lot. But Dad also like coached Little League and whatever. So we got to see him often enough. So my parents like did leave us alone, but like for whatever reason, I think they instilled great things in us. And for like Mark and I had every video game you could possibly imagine growing up. I told you the other day, we had Intellivision, ColecoVision. Well, first we had Atari. At first we had Pong, actually. We had Pong, right? Then we had Atari. Then we had ColecoVision and Intellivision. We had every game for ColecoVision. There was like a steering wheel that you could buy with a gas pedal and like all this stuff. We had the Rocky game, which was like the best game ever on with the Super Action controllers, the Nintendo. And we had all this stuff growing up. We could have played video games all day long, but we chose to go outside and beat each other up. And that was way more productive for us, And I don't know what it is about this era. Kids don't do that, They don't. It also could be like a difference in like when I grew up. I didn't know anybody that lived in an apartment. You know what I mean? Like we lived in a place where everybody lives in a house. It's a little bit different. When everybody lives in an apartment, I think people tend to stay inside a lot more.
The common areas are sometimes not places that you want to be around.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes when you have your own house, you have your own backyard.
Yeah. I just think, if you so for example, if your kids had like their own yard to go run out and play football or whatever, like maybe they would do it more. But if you live in an apartment complex, like maybe there's not the, like you said, it's a common area. There's other people there. It's I don't want to go over there.
I had something kind of weird happen to me today. I don't know if we want to, how far we take this into the podcast, but there is a nice. She's a little older than us. She seems very lonely in the world.
The lady that you have to stop and talk to every day?
Yes. Not every day, but yes.
So you fake that you're on the phone. Hopefully she doesn't watch this podcast.
She won't. Bless her. Well, my kids are outside playing today, and I'm sort of loading up, getting ready to come here.
Yeah.
And I see she has sort of cornered them in said common areas. And she wants to borrow their eyes so she can see if there's Black Widow spider webs outside of her window. And, you know, I have so many mixed feelings about said
You're
experience.
going to ask my kids to go look for deadly spiders in your house?
Well, outside. Yeah, outside. That's one thing.
But why would you ask a young kid, be like, you know what, can you check out if these things are deadly or not?
Well, I did my best to not be rude as I found reasons to pull my kids out of that situation.
Did your kids realize it was bizarre?
They were uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable because they're shy.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I have to. I mean, I'm very torn, Chris. Do I give this lady my cell phone number and say, "Hey, if you need something"? You know, she's a woman.
No,
in her,
she'll call you all the time.
Now listen, dude. Hey, now listen. She's clearly 50 plus. Maybe she's 60 plus. I'm not certain. Single.
Let me just keep saying no.
I understand. I feel like, is it my civic duty to say, if you need something, I'm, you know, someone, because also here's the thing too, she's moving soon. I know she's moving soon, or at least so I've been told by her. But if I feel like, do I need to, is it my civic duty to say, hey, if you need someone to come and open a jar of pickles, or I don't know, for God's sakes, it's going to be summer here and her car isn't working, to maybe give her, I don't know. I felt bad because I don't know if this was just, first of all, I really don't know her mental stability in general. Second of all, I don't want her to feel alone in the world, right? We talk about the elderly being ignored by society, right? Third of all, what if she really needs something that she can't handle? But it made me really uncomfortable seeing someone I barely know, someone that I don't even think I know her first name. Maybe I do. Talking to my 10-year-old and my 14-year-old. I don't know. I'm the protectiveness in me kicked in. Maybe unnecessarily. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I wouldn't want you to get closer to somebody that your kids are uncomfortable with.
Well, I wouldn't say they were uncomfortable. They were uncomfortable with her to the same degree as they were uncomfortable with talking to Mark.
Yeah.
When they came to the gym here and talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, they're just new. My youngest is, I think it was just sort of like they weren't quite sure what was going on.
So you really want to hang out with this lady, is what you're saying. It's a really weird. I'm telling you, like, hey man, steer clear. You know, just steer clear.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I get it, man. Old and alone is a scary place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we all get there at one point.
Well,
maybe we don't all.
The point, of this whole mushroom trip, like after coming out of this insane mushroom trip, I realized like how much time I waste, how much time I'm using, what I'm doing wrong, where can I fix it, how do I prioritize things? Like, if my biggest problem has been constant like fatigue and being tired lately. Like I'm always tired, but I'm tired because I don't sleep well. And the only way to sleep well is like, that's got to be the top priority, which sounds like a loser. You know what I mean? I'm going to make sleep my top priority, but it really needs to be the top thing which I've been realizing is like and I've been better at it in the past couple weeks, but even after doing this trip, it's like, no, you have to make sure you get in bed. You have to make sure you do all these things. You're being irresponsible with yourself, and that's going to lead you to die early, because when you lack sleep, you die early.
Yeah, man, rest is best. I agree with you 100% on that one. I don't think it's just shown that our hormonal response and our decision-making response gets so damaged when we're chronically fatigued. I keep asking myself, like, if you're drinking caffeine every morning, what's the problem?
The
What's
other
really
thing
the
is,
problem?
like, I really probably should stop drinking all caffeine. I probably should stop, taking things that are amping me up all the time. Really lower or slow down, or just back off of kratom for a while. Like, just get off everything for a while and see how you feel. That's actually really hard to do,
I'm dealing with a couple of things right now. For one thing, and maybe you can give me some advice on this, every time I go low carb, my sleep starts to crash. And I don't know exactly what the phenomenon is. I don't know if it's just I don't have that dopamine thing that I'm used to, going to sleep on a dopamine rush of eating, or I don't know the science.
Well, if it was carbohydrates, you don't need that many carbohydrates to fix things like that. So that could be as easy as, like, a lot of people like to eat an apple before they go to bed, or have a little bit of fruit.
Just one piece of fruit.
Supposedly, like, raise your blood sugar for a minute, and then you crash a little bit, and then you go to sleep. That's what they say.
That shouldn't be. So the minimum effective dose of carbs is just have a single serving of fruit.
If you had a cup of strawberries, you probably, like, that could change everything. Hey, if you do that and it doesn't change, first of all, it tastes great, right? It's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
You could probably have, like, a handful of fruit and a couple scoops of Greek yogurt or something too.
Okay, so I was just going to bring up Greek yogurt. So
I think
if I grab some Greek yogurt, throw some blueberries or strawberries in it.
Yeah, a little protein, a little carbs.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I don't think protein is detrimental at any point. Yeah, so you just get like a small thing of Greek yogurt and like a cup of blueberries, whatever. Dump it all together and smash it in. Eat that.
Yeah, okay.
Go to sleep.
That makes sense.
If it helps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What I've realized is all these, like, little things that I used to think, like, oh, if I have 10 carbs, it's going to really throw me off. And when I just realized that, like, I mean, I got to say this, and I was almost going to text him yesterday and thank him. Lane Norton has taught me so much by simply telling me what's not true. I think it's the best way for me to learn was, like, listening to Lane Norton going, like, okay, well, this is bullshit, and there's no evidence for this, and blah, and going, huh. Like, making all these deductions rather than trying to get an overall system of how it works. It was like piece by piece, I sort of figured it out for myself and what works for me. What works for me is like a really high protein, low carb diet with, there's definitely some fruits in it. There's definitely some vegetables in it. And if I could, like, whittle down all the things that I eat, it's basically like any sort of meat, including, like, I do like high quality lunch meat once in a while because I love that, making like fake sandwiches without bread. So I do that once in a while, but mainly it's steak, mainly it's ground beef, and then I've cut back on eggs because I feel like I don't know why, but I haven't been getting as lean as I usually do. And eggs seem to make a difference for some reason, but I don't know if they do or not. You know what I mean? I feel like I can't get as lean with eggs, but when I eat just meat, it does something to my metabolism. That's why I even reduce, if I do have vegetables or I do have fruit, it's very, very little, very little. But back to this trip and these things are actually making me realize slower and slower how little that we need things, but how often we want for things. I want this, I want this, I want when I was in that trip yesterday, I felt like I didn't need anything. It was a weird feeling. Like, I felt like, oh, I'm actually happy right now. I don't need anything. And that was a really nice, peaceful feeling. So
just in the silence of your own room.
Yeah.
In the silence of your own head and thoughts, right?
And I think I was talking to Kenny about this, and Kenny wants to do it too. So me and Kenny may do it and film it. Because I feel like I honestly feel like if I would have filmed and talked through what I did yesterday, I also think this is like the greatest plot of a movie all time. Like, if we were actually in a simulation and the person cracking that code, what I saw yesterday in my head was a movie. And that was the movie, is that we've cracked the code of like civilization. We're already at the next level. We just didn't know it. And this is like the reveal. This is the slow reveal.
This is the thing that keeps coming across in my thought process, is like we're nearing the end of this era. Or maybe the next era has already begun and we're still learning.
We are ending the end of this era with like the AI and all that. Like we are going somewhere else. And I didn't really believe it as much as I do right now, you know, until yesterday.
What Justin was telling me, our farewell to Justin, Dead Life and Deadlifts. He's a legend of a guy.
Yeah.
He was I think he called it the epoch. The scientists are trying to decide, like the BC, like whatever was before BC and AD.
What's the next thing?
What's the next thing? I think we're on the verge of the next thing, and I think you're right. I think it has to do with the digitalization, and maybe like the AI is like the figurehead of that.
AAI after AI.
I mean, just think how much we've changed prior to AI, though. Just being exposed to
The weird thing is, though,
digital.
here's an even weirder thing, man. Yeah, okay, before I did these mushrooms, I had been having all these crazy thoughts all day. Right, like I've been getting fed a lot of UFO information through my feeds. I've been getting fed a lot of conspiracy theory stuff through my feeds, right? And so I'm like, maybe, you know, it's like you get it does make you like really think about a lot of things, because I was having weird thoughts. Just I'm like time and space, where I'm like, okay, how do we know where things are? Like I go to the gym every day. How do I get there? How do we know this? This is so weird. When you start like thinking about everything, and I go like, okay, if I left a bottle on my table yesterday and I come back the next day, it's still there. That's so weird. I don't know why that's weird, but for whatever reason, whatever happened to me yesterday, all that changed, where I was like, there was a reason, because I was questioning that before the mushrooms. And then after the mushrooms, I'm like, there was a reason I was questioning that. I don't know why yet, but there's something weird. There's a puzzle in that piece there that I haven't figured out yet. If that makes sense. I don't know if any of this makes sense, but what makes sense is that I took a mushroom, I went off to a distant planet, I shook my brain up a lot, thought about a lot of things that I thought would never be true. Sort of turned that a little bit into thinking like, well, maybe they could be true. Yesterday, they were as true as could be. Today, it's like a little less true, but then I kept saying, okay, I know what's going to happen here. The simulation's going to give me the next couple weeks before it reveals itself again. This is a slow reveal. These are the layers coming off, and I don't know where it's going. That's at least the way I thought about it, and that's how crazy it is.
And you have to acknowledge the fact that you using the simulation as often, like I tell you with stuff with your podcast, this is just a placeholder. This is your mind's best understanding of something that you're witnessing, that you're feeling in your intuition, in your soul, or in you know.
And you know me. I mean, we've talked about this before. I am the last person to believe in a UFO. I was dead set like. And I don't know if it's a UFO still. Like, I'm still like, is it a UFO, or is it like, or are they already here and around us and we don't know? And, you know, it's so crazy. The things that I thought were the furthest from the truth, I could now see how they could happen. But here's the weird thing. Today, I can't explain it. Yesterday, when this is what I want to do again, but I probably won't have the same kind of trip. Yesterday, when I did it, each time I said, well, what about this? There was an answer for it. Well, what about that? There was an answer for it. Today, I can't think of what exactly those answers were, but I do remember like thinking about the pyramids and then thinking about Sarah saying, we know exactly how they built them. We had Joe Rogan going, we don't have no idea who built them. Well, Joe Rogan hasn't caught up to Sarah yet. Right? Like everybody's in this in a little different spot, and they're all weaved in. So she's a little bit ahead because she's learned that, you know, how they've built the pyramids. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like everybody's like in a different space in the continuum almost. Like Rogan's ahead of me like a couple steps, and I'm chasing him.
I told a friend, science isn't truth. It's our best understanding and our best guess of what truth is. Right? I mean, does Sarah know? Do they know it's hard for me to accept that they know emphatically, concrete, 100%, no doubt, this is exactly how it was done.
But maybe she was one of these people that were chosen to be part of this reporting on what's going on, and she was like, the reason why she's at our gym was to talk to me. Like that's the way I was looking at everything. Everything was connected, man.
Yeah,
everything was connected.
Yeah, you are the center of your own universe.
Yeah,
Chris.
she came to me to talk to because I stumbled upon conversations with her like that out of nowhere. Because I was like, oh, what do you do? You know, she's like, I'm an archaeologist. I'm like a real archaeologist? And then we just talked every day from then on. You know, I had a million questions.
That's great that she's there to answer those for you.
Well, and then like if you go to Rogan, they'll say, we don't know how we built the pyramids. We don't know how they did this. We don't know how, and she'll say, no, there's floor plans for the pyramids. There's this, there's that. I actually sent Joe, a video. And I said, I don't know if this guy's full of shit or not, but I have an archaeologist at my gym that says that most of the stuff Graham Hancock says is manufactured. I love Graham Hancock. I'm not trying to talk bad about him, but I think it'd be cool if you looked into the other side. And I just sent it to Rogan, and he looked at it. So I don't know if he's going to do anything about it, but I basically gave him a guy to put on his show that's complete opposite of Graham Hancock and see if he does it. Because that would be sick, man.
Isn't he sort of like the Sherlock Holmes? Like, he seems to go on the premise of what if this, what if that, and I don't think I've ever heard him make a claim that this is proven.
No, he like
this is.
I think he wants to believe. Like,
yeah,
he's like, I want it to be bad, so real. Cause I want to be, real so bad because it's so cool, you know. But I don't know. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. It's when you've never seen anything out of this world, it's hard to picture anything out of this world. But then when you go on like psychedelics, you can picture things that are out of this world being completely normal. You know, the things that the human mind has thought of, to be honest, probably have all come down from these psychedelic visions. How else would we have thought of like science fiction? You know, I think these things that projections that we have in our head and stuff like that may have always come from these states of altered conscious, whether it's drunk or whether it's, high.
I think Battlestar Galactica figured it out.
All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again.
That's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
This whole concept of a expanding and contracting universe, we expand and then we contract and then we explode and Big Bang.
So here's another like theory, right? And this sounds totally crazy, but what if our last generation, our last ice age, what if that was like a magical time where like magic existed? We don't know. You don't know. You don't know anything. You only know what you see. Yeah. So like when they go, well, of course they know how to move the pyramids because they have these like drawings and whatever. Maybe it was way easier then. Like we can't explain it. We don't know.
Can't explain it.
What if rocks were lighter and they got heavy over the years? I mean, I don't know. There's a million things to try to like explain something. But we never, yeah, I don't know. I get it because I think I'm crazy for thinking this.
I mean, it is a little bit of faith.
Yeah.
Right? It is a little bit of faith because we're trying to pick up on concepts that we have. We see the remnants of it. We see the whispers of it, the shadows of it, but you can't put your hand quite on it yet. Yeah,
and that's just to say, I don't recommend anybody go do psychedelics. I'm not recommending that they do this. This is something I did. I just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was really wild. And I'm actually trying to like hunt down, kind of guinea pig myself into finding some new things that could really help people. And whatever I did yesterday, if I don't know, man. I just feel like it could do wonders for people's brain that need it. We just have to understand it more, and the only way to understand it is keep doing it and testing things. But I've never tried anything like the Super Mario 64 mushroom. It was the most intense experience of my life. It was even more intense than ibogaine, and I should say it was like a happier feeling. The difference is that when I did ibogaine the next day, I came out and had no pain in my body. So I had no pain in my body yesterday when I was doing this. So maybe it'll shake out that way too. Who knows? We never know until you try it.